This is a living room agent, Ben Samson, and he has been with Living Room for, 4 years now?
Yes, it'll be 5 years in December, I think.
Yeah, 5 years. So he came from Chicago. He is an emergency room nurse, and I had reached out to him last week just to ask about safety, what he was doing, and his experience being in the healthcare profession. And you were sharing with me that when you were in Chicago, you were really kind of on the front lines of the major neuro outbreak that had happened in the senior living facilities in Chicago. Can you share just a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, sure. So it was probably about 10 years ago. There was a norovirus, which was actually something that whenever you hear about a quarantine on a cruise ship back in the day, when it was
Yeah.
basically diarrhea and vomiting spreading throughout the ship, and they had to basically clean everything down with bleach, it started coming into the nursing homes throughout Chicago. And I would say I worked at about 15 different ERs within Chicago in the suburbs, and everybody had these protocols, which is very similar to what we have now, basically gowning up and gloving before you step in a room. And then basically back then, we didn't have the Purell or the alcohol-based cleaners, but I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but basically anytime you're dealing with stool or any kind of BNs or diarrhea, you have to use soap and water. The alcohol doesn't work for that because there's
Oh,
spores. And
interesting.
so the alcohol doesn't work on those kind of issues. And
I did
so
not know that.
basically,
Thank you.
it was an outbreak around, yeah. So anytime you're dealing with any kind of stool, I guess, is
Yeah.
the only way I think to say it is you're supposed to use soap and water. Alcohol
Yeah.
doesn't work on it. So.
So is there a lot of similarities just as far as the contagion levels then of neuro and corona?
Well, the difference is that um, that's called contact precautions.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you think you're going to be in contact with the patient or within 3 feet of the patient, you have to gown up, and the cleaning is the same, but the coronavirus is basically the same as the flu virus, which is the same as the COVID-19 virus, which is droplet precautions, which means that you don't need special air precautions. Like some rooms in the hospital have a special suction vent that's
Mm-hmm.
for airborne, but the COVID virus can get aerosolized if you have oxygen on a patient, so there's air blowing in and it's blowing up, or if they have a tube down their throat, then they need that special suction that sucks all the air out.
Mm-hmm.
For most cases that we're familiar with and how to handle things in our daily lives, it's called droplet, which means that the droplets can fly and land on a surface um, and live there for a certain amount of hours. Like flu, I think, is known to live 6 hours or more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And COVID, I haven't heard the recent data, but everyone's been saying anywhere from 3 hours to 3 days. So I
Yeah.
don't know the latest data on that, but
Yeah.
I always think you should just act like it's a minimum of 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Take the best precautions.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're in a really unique position being in real estate right now, in that we've been deemed as essential service, saying that we can still keep working, but you know probably better than anyone the risks and how to mitigate some of those risks. So I was hoping that you could share with agents what you're doing to take precautions to keep both yourself safe and of course keeping your clients in the homes that you're visiting safe.
Sure. So first of all, with the clients, I ask them their medical history in terms of respiratory. That could be considered confidential information, so you have to be kind of careful. But I think most of my clients, I would say 90% of my clients are healthcare workers, and so
Mm-hmm.
they understand, and I already kind of know what they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I ask if they have any kind of asthma or pneumonia, or if they've been coughing, those kind of issues. I also ask if they have any family with those kind of issues, any kind of, and that can go as deep as like they had cancer and they just got over chemotherapy treatments, but I don't have any symptoms doesn't mean that they're not vulnerable to any kind of droplets or any kind of respiratory conditions.
Yeah.
My last client that I have under contract now, we were under contract on a different home, and it was subject to interior inspection, and the tenants said no to our viewing, and then they said that we can come in 2 days later, which we agreed to. And then they canceled again, and my clients got upset, my buyers. But then I asked the agent what's going on, and she basically was saying that we needed to bring them some cleaning supplies because they didn't want to leave their home. Totally understandable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at the
Absolutely.
very end of that conversation, she added, one of the tenants has been coughing a lot.
Mm.
So we canceled our showing because my client has bad asthma
Yeah.
and had it very severe. Like she gets about 3 or 4 bad episodes per year and just didn't want to have to deal with any kind of risk. And that was fine. And so that's how I try to protect people, is by getting a good history. And, I relate a lot of these things to how I work triage in the ER, is basically ask them a lot of questions
Mm-hmm.
about history and, in my mind, thinking of what can happen in the future. So.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. That is one of the most like direct links that I've heard of COVID affecting a sale, just like a buyer backing away from a property that
Yeah.
it looks like there's the risk that someone there may be sick. That's very interesting.
And she's young
Yeah.
and healthy looking. So there's no way like I would even think to be like, I feel like it's just something that I just, happened to come up. And then the agent saying that she had a cough and kind of almost acted like it wasn't a big deal. And this is like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it wasn't full blown
Mm-hmm.
and everything. But in my mind, I'm like, uh-oh, it's not going to
Yeah.
work as
No,
usual.
that's, yeah.
So,
um,
it all worked out. We're on contract now, so it's fine.
yeah. So are you, when you go to see a house, are you gloving up? Do you wear a mask? Can you just kind of run us through some of the physical precautions that you're taking?
Sure. So I have gloves that I wear when I go somewhere. I have a long list of items right before the meeting that I send to the client. So the house that we're under contract now, it's a vacant house, so that helped because they didn't want to see anything that was occupied.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw this house, and I told them, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to wear this, and then you're going to do this. I basically tell them what I think they need to do to protect themselves, protect me, and I'm going to do my best to protect you. And
Okay.
so what I do is I basically, I arrive 10 minutes earlier than our appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I put gloves on,
Mm-hmm.
and these are the usual latex gloves here, these
Mm-hmm.
kinds. And basically they're, I don't know if these are in such short supply here, but I
Mm-hmm.
know like in other areas like Chicago and New York, they're obviously a shortage and we shouldn't be using them. I've done it where I've ridden my bike to this house because it's only a few minutes away, and I've worn regular gloves,
Yeah.
um, just like, bike riding gloves.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll wear the gloves and I'll open the key box, the central lock box, and I'll use that to get into the door. And then I'll turn everything on, open everything up that I think that they would want to see. And then I will tell them that they do not need to touch anything and that I have the gloves on, and I will do that part if there's anything that I missed or if there's anything that they want to see inside of a drawer or a cabinet. And then I'll stand in the corner of the living room as they walk past, and then they do their thing. So it's, this has been short time, so it's been working out.
Yeah.
There was one time I forgot to open up something, and then they stepped into another bedroom. Then I opened up and I stepped back, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It all worked out. And then one time I forgot my gloves, and then I had these on me, and so I was using
Oh, the booty
the booty
protectors.
covers as
Yeah.
like a glove, and just kind of doubled up and did that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
It's interesting. I have been taking my bike gloves and taking my kitchen like dishwashing gloves with
yeah,
me places. And I actually have a friend here in town who owns Kimco Gloves, a major glove manufacturer. And I called him right as this started, and I was asking him how, how is this affecting your business? And he said, well, right now sales have never been better, but he was explaining to me that the gloves, most plastic gloves are manufactured in Thailand. And so even if they put in an offer knowing they need to put in an order that day, it takes 4 weeks just to get the gloves from the factory shipped over in there. And I was like, God, there has to be a way to get them quicker. So
Right.
yeah. And then are you wearing a mask, or are you recommending clients wear masks?
Yeah, the thing is for me, like I've been trained for, throughout my career that the mask is to protect you when it's an N95 mask. And that's the one, that's why I brought up the droplet precautions before, because droplets are a certain size, and I can't remember what it is now, if it's 0.03 microns or whatever. And the N95s pretty much block that size of particle. If you wear this kind of mask, which is considered a surgical mask, to me is the equivalent of like a cotton mask that people are wearing now.
Yeah.
This will not filter that. The reason that you wear these, and that we wear these in the hospital, is to protect others. Okay. So when you're coughing, it goes to the side, or it gets absorbed into here and doesn't just shoot straight out. But it doesn't absorb if it's coming into you, is what I've learned, and that's what I know. And now I know that everyone's supposed to wear them in certain cities. And I think it's a good idea, but in terms of wearing them for showings, I wear them. But I rewear them because I only have a few. And from my training too, is like, these are only meant for one person, one patient. So it's kind of a hard thing for me to get used to, but I have been wearing it. And I've had my clients show up with a mask, the one with asthma. But the way I'm seeing things is that as long as we haven't been in the house for a certain amount of time, I know that, I know vacant house. And if I bring a contractor in, I know that, that I've taken precautions, and then the other person has. And so hopefully that the time that's been sitting on a surface has dissipated the amount that it's sitting on a surface. So.
Yeah, it's interesting, the mask, the false sense of security. I think in that way, like, this is protecting me, and I've been wearing masks when I go to the store, realizing what I'm doing is protecting others and giving people a sense of security, or who's checking me out from, if something happened, or I sneezed, or something caught me by surprise. Right. And so,
that's why when you see people wearing it in their cars, I kind of laugh, because if you're alone in your car, I don't understand that, but that's fine.
It's a pandemic. There's some weirder things than that.
I do have a comment about the sanitation stations that people are setting up.
Yeah, please.
So when you're washing your hands and you do the 20 seconds it's the friction that's the important part.
Okay.
So I feel like maybe that's something that needs to be said, is if you think about it, if there's something standing on your hands or sitting on your hands, the more you rub, the looser it gets. And then as it rises from the surface of your hands, the soap kills it. Okay. And then the water washes it away from you. Okay. So I used to do a lot of precepting. I did it for 2 straight years of like new grad nurses in Chicago. And that's what I used to say. It's the rubbing that gets rid of the virus off of your skin, and then the soap kills it as it washes down the drain.
Yeah.
And then also need paper towels, because I went to one where there was no paper towels and you're just sitting there with wet hands.
Yeah.
And then a garbage outside, because you're supposed to use the paper towel to turn the door handle when you leave the house. And the garbage can outside would be nice to have.
That makes a lot of sense. So when we're setting up a house for showings, garbage can outside, hand washing station inside. Gosh, the booties aren't a bad idea, to have a box of booties if people don't have gloves on the outside, to be able to like grab the handle. Hopefully agents are bringing something, or bringing some gloves to be able to do that. But then, that makes that makes a lot of sense. So I know you've got buyers in contract. I know right after we talk, you're going for a home inspection, correct? Or
I'm going for a foundation inspection.
Foundation inspection. So tell us, I mean, what does that look like now? Because it sounds like you may have to get into crawl space, you might have to be in tight spaces
Yeah.
to view. So what is that? What will you do?
So I'm very experienced at this now because this will be my third bid on this one.
Oh,
Um, so basically, of, it's in the basement behind a wall that someone cut open so they
mm,
can dig out a room
mm,
under the house. And so there's dirt that's about 4 feet high, and then there's the foundation.
mhm,
So you can fit in there, but it's a 10 by 10 square space. So we both can't fit in there and try to like squeeze in and be safe. So basically, I've been trying to do is let them go in. I've sent the inspection pictures of what we're going to look at, um, and then have the contractor go in first while I stand outside. And I definitely have a mask on in there because it's an enclosed space. And then I'll ask that person to step out, and then I'll go in just to make sure that I understand what he's talking about
mhm.
and explain, like, yes, can't we do this in this part? And then it's like kind of like a switching back and forth type of situation. And it's very easy to, like, I can see like I'm in the room and he wants to come in, and
Yeah,
it's basically just have to remind everybody, or someone has to remind the other person, like, just give me a second, I'll just step out. And
yeah.
everybody understands. It just seems to be, it's hard not to even shake hands. Like when you meet somebody, it's
Yeah.
kind of like that reaction. So it's
I've
been
been
working out fine.
doing I've been doing the whole kick the foot out when
Yeah.
I met uh, my aunt for a social distant walk. It was like, here you go. um, I think Joe though, but good point. Like getting we've all had a call to leadership in this, I think, to remind people like, hey, I'm doing this for you, you're doing this for me, let's keep our distance, and here's how we'll go. It's like a dance. I was thinking of that as you were talking. Is just like, I'll lead. Here you go. This is how we'll do this. And then people are clear, and we're not second guessing, we're not bumping into each other, and we giving each other the space.
Right.
Um, so I guess final words in for you, like what as an agent, outside of all of this and the health and safety, what are you just seeing in your own business as compared to a normal, April spring business? Do you have any thoughts or feelings about your pipeline, your buyers? What's the sentiment, and what are the conversations you're having with clients?
Well, I started out this year in January as being the busiest year I've ever had.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
I work, in ER, and I work as an agent, two different ERs. So this January, I was pretty excited to have about 8 clients call me, or 8 people call me saying they're looking. Some are looking in spring, and some are looking right away, and some are looking in summer.
Mm-hmm.
And as this thing has progressed, I've noticed that about 75% of my buyers have basically been saying, we're just going to wait till this
Yeah.
whole thing kind of dies down. Um, and they've all been pre-qualified. They're all ready to buy. And I think that it's a fine line of me trying to not seem like I'm trying to like get business, because I totally understand where they're coming from. But I also feel like a lot of the people that I talk to that are buyers are like, yeah, I just don't want to, I don't want to, I haven't been looking because I don't want to compete, and I don't want to overpay, and I don't want to do this. And it's like a weird conversation to say like, well, this is the time then. Not
Yeah.
that you're going to get a bargain. The competition is less. And I think
Yeah.
like when all this stuff starts to blow over, your conversation that you're having with me is probably happening 1,000 times over throughout the city of Portland. So when
Mhm.
June and July comes, when, hopefully things should get better, there's going to be 1,000 more people saying, all right, I'm ready now.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just trying to be respectful, but also trying to like put it in their ear that, so I still send them properties,
Yeah.
and so like, this one's pretty nice, it's
Yeah.
vacant, this one fits your parameters, just let me know if you need anything,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And I just been sending out text messages and calls and just checking on people. But it's a weird time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's when timing's right for people and they feel confident. I do have Um, I do have made like they're not concerns, I guess, for buyers when things if they heat back up because we're still in a really tight sellers market despite all of this. So things have really eased up for buyers. It's certainly compared to a month ago or compared to what we thought we would see going into this spring because the market's been so tight. And I think you're right. I think if things open up and confidence continues to be as great as it is, it's going to be insane. It's just
Yeah.
going to be insane. I mean, even in the conditions we're in right now, to see 15 offers on a property last week kind of blew my mind, you know.
Right.
But
And
on the other side, it's like going into this before COVID, we saw 35 offers on a property or, and 15 was like, oh yeah, right.
right.
Yeah, so going back into that market is really challenging for buyers. So
Yeah. That's the exact conversation I had with my buyers now. When
yeah,
they pulled out of that offer, they said, like, maybe when we come back, there'll be less competition. I said, so instead of competing with 20 people, you're competing with 10.
yeah.
It's still going to be, it's not ideal we just got to do our best. That's what Diane used to always tell me, just do your best and you
Yeah.
can't go wrong.
You
So,
can't go wrong. Well, I always trust that you're going to do your best. And I love having you at Living Room, Ben. I really appreciate you taking the time. This was really generous just to help remind our agents and other agents like what they can be doing to keep people safe. And it's really practical. It's easy. So I appreciate that too. Cause I'm like, okay, we can all do these things. And
yeah.
yeah. So thank you and have a great
Cool.
weekend.
Thanks. You too. It's good
Okay.
talking to you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.